Okay, John, do you see the Airport Commission agenda on the screen?
I do.
What?
I'm good.
I'm ready whenever you are.
Okay, well, it's not quite there yet. By the way, I just got an email from Michelle. She's in Disney in Orlando and will join by her phone via comment from the comment space.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, it's not, my computer says 5, but apparently the clock is still a little fast.
Okay.
Good
Just,
call.
yeah, no problem.
There you go.
Okay, yep, it's officially 5 o'clock. And I would like to call the August 2021 Airport Commission to order. Mark, posting?
It was posted in the front hallway and online as we always do, and it was posted at the airport, right, Rich?
Correct.
Okay, great. Then the next thing is the roll call to see who is on the call.
So Michelle Bond is not with us today. You announced that already. Mayor Brar, are
I'm
you
here.
present?
She's by phone.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
here.
I'm sorry. I thought you said she was unavailable. I was.
No,
Okay.
she's from the call of the comments.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry.
No
Is
problem.
Mayor Brar here? Mayor Brar is not present. Robert Burke, I see present. Luke Fassard. I see Luke present.
Yeah, sorry. Yep, I'm here.
John Halleck is present. David Lorman.
Present.
Present. And Kevin Munson is present. So
Here.
we have six present with Mayor Brar absent.
All right, thank you very much. So the next item up is the approval of the minutes. Everybody, I'll give everybody a few minutes to take a look at it.
This is Robert. I already looked at it and I would make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
Okay, so I have a motion from Robert to approve the minutes as written. Anyone care to second that?
I would second that motion. This is
Alright.
Michelle Bond.
Michelle, thank you very much. Looks like you have a lovely place you're sitting there.
Yes,
Okay,
thank you.
First and a second, is there any additional discussion? With that, I'd like to call a vote. All in favor of accepting the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same side. Okay, the motion passes. Next is the chairperson report. I only have two items on the agenda right now. One that I want to talk about, one is and I think we passed the information on to you. Finally, there is now a second approved fuel. And it appears that it could cover all the more difficult engines by the end of within a year, let's say. Right now, it covers all of the 172s, but I also report some that it covers the more challenging turbocharged engines and some of the other. So I suspect that that will be a breakthrough that will be coming to us very, very soon. And so we'll keep posted. David asked that maybe we put together a position paper for the Common Council and the city, and I'll try to get that on the agenda for next month. So we'll do that. The other item is that I didn't have listed here is that we had the last day or so, the pre-bid meeting for the lights, and we only had one bidder show up to ask questions. Hopefully we will have more submit. They did say that the cost of the equipment is not only stabilizing, but coming down, which is a good thing. So hopefully that will that will work in our favor, if you will. So does anybody have any question about those two items that I could provide additional information?
Yeah, John, I have a question about that lead,
Yes.
unleaded gas. So what percent of the the airplanes you think would be 172. I know the others will be covered soon, but if you were to just do they cover maybe that's 30%, 40% already, or what percent would that be?
Well, I think the way you'd probably, if you're looking at our airport, what would be the impact of that fuel today? I think the question would be, how many gallons of the annual gallons sold is used by those approved aircraft?
Yep.
And Rich would have to have a better answer to that. I don't know, Rich, you want to hazard a rough guess?
Yeah, if it were available now, and if we were able to sell it at the same price as the 100, my guess is of the around 75,000 gallons of 100 octane we sell right now, we would, with just the flight school aircraft approved, we'd be in the maybe 40,000 gallons of that at most. There's a lot of 152s, 172s, older airplanes that could even use the Swift, the 94, that could use that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So you'd say
that's great.
40%?
Yeah, I'd
That's
say
wonderful. I mean,
around-
that's great.
around
Mhm.
40% is what would it good. Now once that gets approved for all the rest, yeah, there's no reason why we can't, and we undoubtedly will in the future be switching completely over to it.
Yeah, I suspect if I was to look in my very cloudy crystal ball, that once there is an available fuel that would meet virtually all of the aircraft, which sounds to me, according to the press releases, within the year, that the EPA will withdraw its dispensation to the FAA and cause everybody or remove the option to use leaded fuel. That would be my guess.
And that would be wonderful for us, for all people living here and for the country. So that happened for the cars 25 years ago. I think it's about time. Now, my second question is about the LED lights. So we had only one bid, and so we are going to rebid it, right?
Well, no, we only had one person show up at the pre-bid meeting. Now, that's not the bid. The bid will happen shortly. And so the FAA, well, we leave it to the BOA and the FAA to determine when to accept and when to reject the bids. I doubt if there's only one bidder, they would in fact reject it, because we only had one bidder for the tractor. And it's not uncommon, I think, there are fewer and fewer people that bid the FAA BOA stuff. So we're not in control of rejecting or accepting the bids. That's up to the BOA, and I doubt that they would.
Okay, that's great. Well, I mean, that's how it is. So I hope, we pay only small percent of it, but I guess still, that's still, whatever money we can save, that's still good. Okay.
Yeah. Good.
Okay, thank you, John.
Yeah, there'll be a reconciliation. Josh and I talked about it a couple of days ago. And he and I will, once we have an idea of the number, for the next meeting, we will try to lay out the discretionary funds and all the other funds that are given to us. It appears that we may actually get double the entitlements for this year. There's some discussion on how they're going to beef that up. And so that hopefully we'll have some clarity on that soon. And we'll, like I say, we'll try to balance that set of the books before the September meeting. Okay.
Excellent, thank you.
Yep.
Don, I had a quick question, if I may, for the notes.
Yes.
Rich, you made a comment about $75,000 gallons, of which 40,000 gallons could maybe switch to that fuel. Is that what you said?
We sell in the neighborhood of 70 to 80,000 gallons, depending on the year, of 100 octane low lead. Right now, with the aircraft, I'd have to look at the list, but the aircraft that are approved, we could easily That's it's just a swag, a scientific wild guess. So at what we might be able to do.
But you said 40,000, so that's more than 50%. And I think someone
You're
had
right.
said less than 50, and that's why I wanted to make sure I was understanding.
Right in the neighborhood of 50 to 40% is my guess at the moment. Again, availability is it's gonna take a while to ramp up.
So maybe about half the planes could benefit immediately, is what you're saying.
That's my
Okay.
guess, yeah.
You know, Rich, when I take a look at the royalties paid and the run rate, it really looks more like about 100,000 gallons in
Well, that's total, but that's with the Jet A.
Good point. Sorry. I'm looking at the bottom line and working backwards.
There
I
you
stand
go.
corrected.
No problem, Dan.
Okay, thank you. All right. Any other questions? If not, we'll go to the airport managers.
I have a quick question either
Yes.
for John or for Mark. Could you remind us again the best way, if we want an agenda item, the best way to get a certain topic on the agenda?
It goes through John.
Yeah, just ask.
Just like ask you or ask Mark?
Well, I developed the agenda item, so you have to ask me, Kevin.
Okay,
You can always email me too, and I just work with John on it. I mean, we work
Yeah.
together, but ultimately John I put it together at John's direction.
okay. I just saw that one person reached out with some really good requests and just wanted to remind everybody the best way to do it.
Yeah, that's,
Okay.
yeah, David asked for something and we're going to try to get it on next month's agenda.
Right, just don't email everybody.
Right.
Yeah, just don't email everybody. We'll get organized and then we'll bring it up. Not a problem. I'm still learning, David.
Ah,
Okay, Rich, you're up.
Okay, well, pretty much the same story over and over again. We got 71 noise complaints. The new thing was there was an aerial applicator of crop duster or two working out of the area. I saw them operating out of Sauk Prairie, generated a lot of calls from people that we don't normally hear from. About 11 calls were by the aerial applicator. Dr. Pavlovic and the town chair continue to dominate the numbers when it comes to the complaints. Again, an odd trend that there's been a lot of complaints about aircraft taking off, even though they're following the appropriate noise abatement procedure, but they're just loud on takeoff. There's nothing that I don't know what the expectation is when we get a complaint like that. It just doesn't make any sense. Anyway, everything, we had 71 this month, which is up a little bit. Still a lot more via the phone line this month, because again, that's where I think people initially will go to that aren't familiar with the system. Let's see. Misunderstanding. Again, there seems to be at least a talking point that if they don't follow the voluntary noise abatement procedure, they're somehow flying an unsafe pattern, which is not the case. If you're flying the FAA standard pattern, it's a safe pattern. I tried to educate people along those lines when I do respond, and I have responded to everyone that wanted to get a call back. At least I'm pretty sure I have. No aircraft accidents or incidents on the field. We did conduct another online safety seminar in July. In September, we're going to go to in-person unless this wave continues, and then we'll stay remote. Reports, airport maintenance. There's one item here I didn't bring, but AED, I know we ordered it, still haven't, if we have it, it's sitting somewhere and we haven't got it out here and installed. Knox boxes, I don't know if they've been delivered yet, but we haven't seen them and we haven't installed them. We did close the airport for a day while the area underneath the culverts where the Pheasant Branch North Fork goes through had a bit of subsidence. We had filled it with gravel. We got Daniels Construction out here. They didn't give us a lot of notice, but they said they could do it at this time and we jumped on it. They dug it out. They dug out a couple areas.
Okay.
And they've filled it with concrete. So we were down, we had the NOTAM published, had the X's out, and there was a few calls about that, and again, some confusion about it. We put it out in Zulu time or Greenwich Mean Time, and some people have trouble understanding that, and others, were just concerned. Also, Rock the Ramp, I think it was a great success. As I said, I was there the whole time. I was very much impressed with the professionalism. There were 4 FAA inspectors on the site for the air show. And I was part of the safety brief. It was very comprehensive. No, I don't have any complaints about the way it was operated at all. I think it was a very well done. People enjoyed it. And I don't know the numbers, how much money they made for a honor flight, but I'm sure it was a very large amount. And I think that, this is the kind of thing that people like about an airport. We had a mini air show, it was a mini Oshkosh, lots of interesting aircraft here. People were walking all over the ramp, checking out airplanes. And then the fireworks display at the end was wonderful for what it was. So I can't compliment Matt and Jade and the Capitol crew enough. They put a huge amount of effort into this event and it went off very smoothly. My father's book signing went very well as well. A lot of people showed up, a lot of old friends. Not that I need to tell you that, but it was a great event. And then one of our fellows, now think about this. This man started work for my grandfather the year I was born and retired last year because of COVID. That was Raleigh Mack. He was a mechanic, a flight instructor, later a charter pilot, an incredible charter pilot, and retired back into the shop after he couldn't fly. 60 plus years working out here. That tells you something about the work environment at this place, and I'm very proud of it. For what it's worth, we have 2 pairs of sandhill cranes now that are foraging on the airport property. Future events, we've got Capitol Flight's cruise-in car airplane show coming up August 14th. And then there's a girls in aviation camp that's going to be happening at the airport. There'll be some flying. They're using the conference room 18th through the 20th. And that first time we've ever done anything like this. Again, really trying to get women more interested in flying. And the way you do that is you get the girls interested in flying. Okay. Any questions or anything that I didn't go over?
I think there's 2 things for me. One is, Mark, can you check with whoever's in the city and find out what's the status of the Knox boxes, the AED?
Yep,
Obviously,
I will do
Rich didn't order them. The city's ordered them, right?
Right.
Right. So that's kind of in the city. So if you could do that, that would be great. And the other thing is Matt on the line today? Matt Holfeld?
Yep. Hey, John.
Yes. Hey, okay, Matt, from your perspective, why don't you tell us a little bit about what transpired? Were there any challenges? What went right? What went wrong? Tell us a little bit about the air show. Maybe you could fill it in from your perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to kind of speak to some of the points of the event, and there's certainly a couple thanks that I'd like to give before I kind of debrief that. Rich, thank you so much. You guys, Greg, the crew, the airport just looked tremendous. It looked so good, and I know everybody worked hard to make that happen. So that was a big deal. Common Council, allowing the event to happen again for its 5th year. L&O, again, a huge thank you to the city for the support for this as well. We were blessed with tremendous weather. We've had rain, we've had extremely hot before, and this one was about as good as you could get considering the time of year. So that was tremendous. This was also really kind of a pivotal year for a couple of reasons. It's always been really an appreciation party with a fundraiser attached to it. And this was really the first year that we engaged the entire community and wanted to build this into something a bit larger and up the ante in a couple of different ways, which I'll get to too. But the community support was also tremendous. We had planned for somewhere around 1,000 to 1,200 people based on the responses that we were getting and some of the advertising that was going out there. And we had close to 2,000 individuals that were in attendance throughout the night. So that was obviously amazing. And it in and of itself presented some challenges that we will address next year with more food options and the ability to turn people over a bit quicker so that folks aren't waiting. But the turnout from the community, the support, the enthusiasm, absolutely incredible. Also the respect to the airplanes that were there and the airfield. I went out the next morning, our crew, and picked up, and I think I had 3 or 4 pieces of trash, a cup here and that sort of thing. Absolutely, great effort from the community to treat our airfield with great respect. So that was wonderful, wonderful to see. The air show, new to this event, was met with enthusiasm as well. Michael Goulian was a complete rock star. His team, absolutely amazing. The excitement over seeing that firsthand, which many people hadn't, overwhelming excitement about that. The reason that there were so many FAA inspectors here was that this was the very first time that a waiver for a single act air show had been allowed without an air boss. And for folks that know, an air boss is a professional career. Having them here is relatively expensive. And the FAA really wanted to have more events like this in the future around the country to allow some of these one-off events to happen, again, to bring the community, to have enthusiasm around aviation. So we were a test bed for how that worked. And our debrief with the FAA was overwhelming positive. So excited about how it went off. We couldn't have done it with a better team with Michael and his folks to make sure that this can happen more. And we'll be working with the FAA to put out some material for them about what our experiences were. So they are very, very excited about that, as are we, to be able to do that and host that. The fireworks at the end, we worked with our provider for that to make the show concise and great for the spectators, but also choose shells and things like that that would minimize noise impact for our neighbors. And we believe that we did that and were able to make it great for everybody that was involved. Again, thank you very much for police and fire. They were on site, many positive comments from them about how the event was staged and their ability to do what they needed to do to support the event. Huge thank you to both police and fire. They were great. Sponsors, local businesses really stepped up and embraced it in a big way. And all the feedback that I got was, we can't wait to be back next year. We'll double down. People coming up saying we'd like to sponsor that weren't in this year. And those corporate sponsorships allow us to make the show better every year and keep it a free event for the general public, which is how it shall stay. So that is extremely encouraging. The total numbers for Badger Honor Flight we will release. They have a banquet, volunteer and board of directors banquet next week. I do want to be able to share that number with them for the first time. I'm happy to, of course, provide that so Rich can put that in his report for next month. But what they talked about, what success looked like for them, we absolutely smashed that and could not be happier with that, other than we will certainly do more and better for them next year. That is one thing that I will reveal. It was an absolute perfect partnership. They had a lot of volunteers here that really worked hard. We absolutely loved working with them. And next year, Badger Honor Flight will be our charity that we select as well. It just was so great. We want to be able to support them again.
Yeah.
Again, next year, some changes. We will certainly be planning for more folks, and we'll have more infrastructure to be able to support them, as we have learned from this event. Just want to close with an invite. The cruise-in for Cars, Curing Kids will be the 14th. The planning is well underway, and very excited to have another great event at our airfield and be able to bring the community out to see this amazing asset. So that's all I got, unless anyone has questions for me.
That sounds great. I have a quick question. So you talked about next year. When does that need to get in front of the airport commission so that that process can start?
Yeah, and the big thing about planning for next year is a lot of the talent, both air show and music talent, are really setting their schedules now. So as soon really as we can to, in principle, get the endorsement from Airport Commission would be great, so that we can work on booking some of those folks that do plan out quite a bit further in advance. Would be great, John. Thanks.
Okay. All right, well, we'll see if we can maybe get that on the agenda. Does any of the commissioners have a question? I know a lot, unfortunately, I wasn't there. I was at one of my favorite places in Rochester. But does anybody have any questions that you'd like to ask me?
Hey, John, I have a comment, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
A couple of things. So I attended with my 2 young kids. I just want to reiterate to Capital Flights and Rich Morey how phenomenal the event went off. In particular, I wanted to call out the activities that were geared towards kids. The face painting in particular, and those kinds of things, I think really emphasized it as a family-friendly event, which was awesome. The one comment that I was gonna, or suggestion I was gonna make, Matt, you already called it, which was food. You know, and the lines for the Kona Ice and the food, etc. The beer line, I will say, seemed to be moving along just fine. But yeah, the food would just, if there's an opportunity to think about how we can make that a little bit more efficient next year, that would be awesome. But otherwise, I would just want to say kudos to you and everyone. And I again, the Badger Honor Flight folks with whom I spoke were just so appreciative of all of the entire effort, including, you know, of this commission granting this event or encouraging this event, et cetera. So it was just phenomenal. Well done.
Thank you, Luke.
Thanks, Luke.
John, I have a question for the minutes.
Yes.
Matt, you said something about was it air boss? Did you say BOSS?
Yeah.
Yeah, correct.
Word you used? Okay. So that's basically meaning somebody's on site, or what does, I can ask you separately, but I thought it would be helpful to clarify what you meant by that.
Yeah, essentially an air boss is very intimate with detailed air shows like Oshkosh, where there's multiple acts, multiple aircraft flying in unusual configurations and things like that are part of an air show. Given our waiver, an air boss, a certified air boss, was able to look at our entire plan and waiver and say, this looks great. The FAA would, of course, then take that into consideration along with the ground crew and the performer that we have and grant that waiver.
Okay. And then my other question was, I don't think you mentioned any idea of how many aircraft flew in for the event?
It was about 100 or so.
Thank you.
Great. I'm glad everything went well. The only comment I heard was it should have been advertised so more of the town people could have come and visited.
When you say town people,
I mean the city folk. Yeah, the city of Middleton, I'm sorry.
You meant people in general, I think.
Yeah, area residents.
Yeah.
I know I have to be politically correct here. I'm sorry. Area residents.
That's not what I meant.
And certainly, you know, next year we're working very closely with tourism to help get that message out more. We would love if the entire city would come. It would be great.
It would be great. It'd be good for the airport. Okay.
Do we have room for public comment at all?
No, we don't.
No, we don't.
No, we don't.
As one of those town folk who was totally ignored for this event.
No, sorry,
No,
we're not
no,
taking
sorry.
public comment. That's come and gone.
It has. When did it start? Or when did it end?
We have not, Mark, you can silence everybody other than the commissioners. So with that, let's move on.
I will say, that we did try to publicize this ahead of time. We asked the town of Middleton to help publicize this, and for some reason they chose only to publicize the amplified sound component of it. They didn't publicize the air show or the fireworks. Hopefully that they can help us with that next time, but we did ask for that. The city did provide notice through our listserv, and we always encourage people to sign up to our airport listservs if they want to keep up on airport issues.
But if we're going to be muted, what does it matter?
So I'd like to move on to the next item, which is the budget. So Mark, why don't you go ahead and start with the your portion that you had put into the packet about the budgeting process, and then I
Sure.
can go through where I think we're at.
All right, thank you, John. So it's our annual budget season has kicked off. Budgets are due on August 20th. So we are hoping at this meeting, so that we don't have to schedule a separate meeting, that we'd get your direction on what you would like the airport budget to be, how you'd like it to be submitted for next year. So that's basically what this first memo is from Bill Burns, explaining our budget review development process. The next page in the packet was the Airport Enterprise Fund, current, the actual expenses year to date, our sources of uses report that you always see every month. And there's some materials in here that I think this one came from, John, this one was yours, right?
Yeah, why don't we, if we can go back a couple?
Sure.
Sure. So keep going back one more. Okay, stop there. So what I did was first of all, you don't have the percentages. I'll go through them. And I wanted to see what our run rate was compared to our budget. And so the hangar land leases, as we suspect, would be 100% because we get it all at the first of the year. The land lease from MADC is at 50%. And our fuel flowage fee for the half year is at 50%. And our cropland rental was at 50%. Our solar rent, which we thought was at 100%. So all of we're like spot on for the run rate for most of those. We didn't anticipate repayment of entitlement advances or the grants. So those were kind of freebies. And the actual grant, I always have an issue with Bill on that one. We never received 400,000. That's part of the money for the lights. And I'll report on that at the next meeting. Going down to the uses of the funds. For 6 months, the telephone was at 34%. The utilities were at 42% of budget. The insurance, however, was at 136% of the budget. And that's really something the city has to provide us. The grounds maintenance was only at 14% of the budget. The grounds maintenance before had, last year, we had a large amount of money for the hydraulic system on the New Holland, and the year before that, we replaced an engine in the county truck, I guess I'd call it. Prairie maintenance, we hadn't been billed for, that's at 0%. Landing light maintenance, where we are at 24%. The airport contract is at 33%. That, I'm not sure why that is, but I guess they hadn't paid Rich you for June yet. We don't pay engineering fees. That's part of our budget, or excuse me, our entitlements. Our outside services is primarily legal. We estimated fairly high, and we were at 24%. We didn't have to pay any entitlements. We didn't have any other operating expenses. or any cash outlays. So we were way under the budget on a run rate basis. So that's pretty encouraging. So that's kind of how we're doing to date. So if you go down, and Mark, if you can go to the 2022 numbers that I put together, is that let me go back one, Mark, please. Let me see here, is that the 2022? No, that's 2020.
Right. I go to this one.
So yeah, so you don't have the full sheet. Okay.
Well,
Kind of spread out. So
Yeah,
let me, not a problem. So first of all, let me tell you what the color coding is. So what numbers does the airport commission provide that are central to the airport? And so those are in the green. Those are the ones that we provide, Rich and I and Mark and the rest of you have to approve as to what it's going to take to, we believe, to run the airport in 2022. The yellow is fixed contracts. And so we really don't have to provide that for the budget process because Bill has those. Those are city contracts. The green are utilities excuse me, not the green. The beige or brown are utilities and the city knows those. They negotiate the insurance and the outside services are primarily legal. And so those are things that we would expect the city would have, and we only have to deal with the green. What I did was I took the last half of 2020 and I combined it with the first half of 2021 to produce a rolling 12-month view. And so I have some ideas of where the green stuff should go. And actually, some areas can actually, I think, go down. We hope to have new landing lights. Hopefully that will go down. Rich has put together an airport manager's estimate, and I looked at it, and it seems very reasonable to me. And so that would go from 39, let's call it 5, would go up to 41 and some change. I got it, should have it right here, 41 and $50. So the change is very nominal on that. And the rest, like I said, we would put together and make it available at the September meeting or our meeting, and everybody could look at it and make a final approval on that. So that's the process that I've kind of went through. And so any questions from, and that's Rich's estimate. So 2021 is actually putting it in for 2022. So it's an approval. And we do need to add some things in here for outside brush and burning, but you can see that the run rate for ground maintenance is 1/3 of what it was last year. So there's plenty of room as long as we don't have any major breakdowns. And frankly, I just don't know how we can. Everything's new, new tractors and new engines. And so hopefully we're moving in the right direction to modernize our equipment and keep our airport in top shape. So does any of the commissioners have any questions on anything? The process?
John, I was looking at the revenue part, and I think in 2019 or 2020, the revenue from the hangars was 118,000.
Yes.
And now it's 108. What happened? Where did we?
That was the budgeted amount. I'll be honest with you, I don't know why that number would have went down. I would have to ask Bill. Did we have people that, I can't answer that question, to be honest with you. Mayor.
I appreciate you noticing that, Mayor. I hadn't actually noticed that myself, but my recollection of it is that we originally thought we were going to raise, well, no, but the actual is 118 too. That doesn't make
Yep.
sense. Yeah,
Yep.
I'll double check that. The number should be, I mean, comparing with 2018, the reason we are 108 compared to 101 is because we increased our land lease rates.
Yes.
But I don't recall why 2020 would have been higher like that. So I wonder, I'll look into that, Mayor.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. But why
Yeah.
2021 is lower? I think.
Well, if you
Anyway.
look at, if you
Okay.
look at 2021 compared to 2018 and 2019, that's a good comparison. And that explanation is that we increased our land lease rates.
Yes.
I don't understand why 2020 is an anomaly. My only, actually one possibility is that there was a typo and that 118 should be 108, but I don't want to speculate any further. So let me look into that and I'll get back to you. I'll let you know, Mayor.
So
Okay,
that's,
thank you.
so that the rent, hangar land lease is a number that Bill's gonna provide us anyhow. Because he has all the contracts and can summate them and provide them. So I trust Bill will come up with the right number and can maybe shed light on the 118,000. But that's a good catch.
Yeah,
That's a
thank
good
you.
catch, Mayor.
Yeah, me too. Bill is great. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes. Any of the other commissioners have any questions? Okay, so we will, between the city and then Rich and I massage and the rest of the numbers, we'll put together a final document and we will get it in front of the airport commission for its approval. And we will also, I will reconcile, to the best of my knowledge, and Josh, all of the projects and where we think entitlements, apportionment, and discretionary funding is, and it will, what its impact will be on our funds flow for 2022.
So what I'm hearing, John, is you may want to have a special meeting on August the 19th, if you would like the commission to make a formal endorsement to recommend the budget, or is that what you're not saying?
What did we do last year?
We had a budget meeting in early August and asked commission members for any input, any concerns, any, if we're on the right track. And then it was administratively, with your work, working with
Okay.
John and Bill and me. That's essentially how we've always done it. But if you're
Okay.
wanting a formal vote
Mhm.
before it gets submitted, then that would require a separate meeting. If you just
Okay.
want an update at the September meeting of what was submitted, we can do it that way. And that's typically what we have done.
Yeah.
Your
Well,
call.
Yeah, so why don't we do this? Why don't we just poll the commissioners and find out if they feel that there's a need for them to approve it, or they will empower Rich, myself, and Mark to go ahead and complete the budget based on, we're pretty darn close. If you look at the run rates, we're pretty darn close. And when we have a miss, it's in our favor. So I think we're doing pretty good, but Mark, will you just call the roll and we'll ask everybody their opinion?
Oh, okay. So not a roll call on vote, but just asking. Okay.
Yeah, let's just
So-
get their general consensus.
Why don't we ask for anyone who wants to contribute first, and then if anybody, you're actually asking,
Your call, however you want to handle it.
I don't want to put anyone on the spot, so.
This is Robert.
Is this?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Robert.
I'll go first. I have, on especially on airport commission where costs are so well known, and I trust the people looking at it, I would be okay with just reporting back to us in September. And if you did have questions, as you're working through it and say, oh geez, this one's tough and maybe we want to get some more input, sure, then call a special meeting and we can help. But I personally think that I trust John and Rich and Mark to put together a proposed budget to the city that does not require a formal vote of the airport commission.
Luke, did you have a
Took the
comment?
words right out of my mouth, Robert. You took the words out of my mouth.
Okay. Does
I'll
anybody
try to give them back at a future date.
Does anybody feel, maybe I'll take the other tack. Does anybody feel we need to have a special approval of the airport commission, or would you just be happy with us reporting back?
I'm looking at how we handled last year.
Okay, so I'll just report, and we won't call a special meeting. I don't think it's, we need to do that. The numbers are well known, as Robert said, and most of them are controlled by the city anyhow. So I think the most important things is the things that are off of the funds flow, which is the entitlements discretion, our bigger projects money, and where we shake out on that. And everybody will see that. So why don't we just bypass that and we will report rather than call a special meeting. Okay,
Sounds good.
all right. Thank you, everybody.
So-
Yeah, I just want to make sure we do everything properly and we dot our i's and cross our t's. Okay, so the next item up then is we're going to talk about the brush clearing. Is that right, Rich?
Yes, absolutely, John.
Okay.
We've been very active in preparation for our goats to arrive. The team has been doing a lot of brush removal. Actually, Larry Wagner and his son have been helping with a lot of mowing and some additional labor to try to. Larry's motivated. He wants to have more grass to cut and less willows, and that's the goal, is to get rid of all the trees on this airport and have the waterways function as they were designed to do, not be clogged up by that growth. So I'm excited about this. If it pleases the committee, I'd like Cara Randall to give a quick report on what we're going with the goats, because she's more involved with that than I am. But yeah, we're very excited about the concept or the prospect of getting a sustainable, basically ecosystem of prairie grasses and natural in the waterway, as opposed to the invasives. And it should be a lot easier to maintain if we can get it to that point.
Is Cara online?
I'm right. Yep, I'm right here. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, you're up.
Okay, great. Yeah, I just want to reiterate what Rich said, that we have made a lot of progress in the last year, or not just what we accomplished last year with the goats and the mechanical and the manual clearing, but also I think really in establishing this collaborative relationship with Larry Wagner. It really is mutually beneficial to be working with them. They benefit. This is, and Rich might have mentioned this, but the clogging in the waterway backs up water on the airport, which is not desirable, not only for the airport, but not desirable for the farmers. So we had a great team meeting, a couple of them today, this past week, where we went through the entire airport and all the waterways and identified what needs to be done in each area. And just as an overview, we basically have the goats coming back. We're setting up paddocks tomorrow, and then the goats should be coming next week. And the idea now is that they go through rotationally. And just a brief overview of what the whole point of using them in combination with mechanical and then eventually fire is that the invasive species, including the willows, put a lot of their energy into the parts of the plant that we see. So the more that gets brought down to the ground, it deprives the root of the energy to survive. And so that's why it's important to not give up on a procedure like this that takes anywhere from 3 to 5 years to turn something from a mess, which is what we have in the very non-technical terms, into a very sustainable environment where you're having more prairie plants and native plants, which tend to drive all of their energy into the roots. And that way they establish anti-erosion naturally along the banks. And they also are used to this cycle of burning and grazing. So down the road, obviously the intensiveness and the costs will go down as we move through this process. And, we're also looking as a team of other options for bringing in the forestry mulcher. Last year we had McFarland's come in this past spring, actually, and they did a phenomenal job on the sections that they did with this mulcher. And it's clear that is an effective and powerful tool for eliminating, I don't know, what did we just say, Rich, 5 to 7 years of growth we have here.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna, yeah, something like that. I'm gonna be getting some before and after pictures that I will, be to show. But bottom line, just in the last 5 months of growth from what the forestry mulcher has done, it's brought it down to about a 5-foot height in growth in just a few months. And that is perfect for the goats to bring down to the ground, and in areas that are mowable, to use the airport equipment and Larry's equipment to mow. So I just can't tell you how excited I am about how this is working, even when we couldn't burn this spring, which is what I had as part of the program. Just because of the timing, we couldn't get McFarland's out here soon enough, and weather is always a factor when it comes to burning. So sometimes you have to skip it. So we're on target for trying to schedule adaptive restoration to come in the fall, but it's also possible because of weather and also their staffing issues. They lost their main contact. She moved to the state of Oregon. So, it's kind of like up in the air. We make do with what we have and we get creative. And of course, with the animal factor, they may be here longer than we anticipate. They may be here shorter than we anticipate. That's kind of a soft, guess. But what I'm really seeing is that with the collaboration between airport staff and Larry, and I had a conversation with Mark Wagner from the city the other day, just to let him know what we're doing. And if there's anything we can do about the prairie part in the front to help have a collaborative effort with the city about what the frontage looks like of the airport. And he's very satisfied so far. So I just want to keep that, like the real positive arrangements that we're making, and I'll keep you posted as how we're going. And I just really want to thank you, John and Rich and the commission for being willing to try something new and, give us the freedom to do what's really right environmentally and cost effectively for the airport. I don't know if anyone has any questions for me at all, but that's about it.
I have a couple of budget questions. I always ask the money questions. I'm sorry. So we are within the pilot. We approved some money last year. So are we going to be within the amount that we allocated, do you think, for this? Let me ask it a different way. Between here and the end of the year is some number. And then Rich has suggested $5,000 to do brush management, goats and equipment, and another $2,500 to do burning. That would be in the 2022 budget. But what do we have in 2021?
I actually don't have that specific information. I still have to find out, the total bills through Rich of, what we had left over. I do know we saved the costs from the burning. So we do have that to apply to, the goats. I'm still kind of new in this whole budget process, and, technically I should have budgeted for this summer, ahead of time, to do that. So Rich and I are working on how to resolve that part. There may be an additional cost beyond the budget, with the goat part of it. But what we didn't see that's actually really fortuitous is the help we're getting from, Larry Wagner. So that'll have to, Rich, kind of turn to you on that number part of it.
Sure. John, and everyone on the commission, the area, if you look at the illustration that's on your screen, area 1 has been mown and will be mechanically taken care of. Area 2 is completely mown, and a large section of area 3 has been mown. So what I'm anticipating is as short a stay as we had last year, or in the range, because anything that we can mechanically cut has already been done. Now there'll be some regrowth by the time the goats get here, but those girls are very hungry, and it doesn't take them long to basically graze an area down. I'm committed enough on this. I don't know how we didn't get this in the budget for this year, but that's my fault. You were talking about how our ground maintenance is below where it had been last year. Well, part of that is me turning in at the end of the year what we're going to do. So if Maury Airplane Company has to take this on initially, we'll do so just to make sure that it is a cost-effective way to get this up. And then we'll turn it in at the end of the year. It'll be within, I'm sure, the budget for grounds maintenance that we already have.
Yeah, I think it'll fit into it. It's just, it's good that we make our best guess. And then, we write it down and then we compare a year from now where we're at. Just it's part of our ongoing education and improvements. One thing we did find out, or I found out, was that McFarland donated or never charged us for the forestry equipment. And that's $1,800, right?
Great.
And I sent a note to the city. I thought that we might want to send them something like as a contribution, right? And they could, take it as a tax best they can, depending on their taxable situation. And that may make them look at us as more of a community effort rather than a revenue generator, right? And they could get some more, they get some advertisement, they could get a little bit of a tax write-off as a contribution. I mean, that helps us a lot. And I don't think it takes much of their time and money to take a piece of equipment that may not be used and let us use it.
Well, John, actually, you brought up a really good point. That was part of the original conversation I had with Corey at McFarland's last year about using this collaboratively for marketing for them. And I don't see why this can't be turned into perhaps even an ongoing a relationship of really promoting, their equipment, their facility, their rental arrangements, all of that. Rich and I can talk about how we can pursue that particular arrangement. The other thing I wanted to say that I just want to be clear of on using the map, areas 1 and 2, the pink ones, were where we had the goats last year as our pilot program. Sure. And we do not have to have them go back. So that's what they proved is their effectiveness along with the equipment has now allowed us to be able to maintain that without them. So the goats are coming in area 3 and we're starting in the most heavily overgrown area, which is right by the bridge on Airport Road next to Alpha. So we're going to be starting there. They'll be in that section for probably 2 weeks. That's the first estimate. The second paddock moves directly north, which would go up to the taxiway, the first drain that you kind of see coming in near the north end of Alpha. And then the third area is going to be the area, that little dog leg there, that part of it has been mowed successfully by the guys, but where Mark is circling, there's that pond, and that area is just a mess. There, unfortunately, it wasn't necessarily well designed for draining, and there may be some other things that we need to do that might require further conversation with the city or the DNR so that this doesn't clog up for reasons beyond our control. So we're just really using this as an opportunity to improve the drainage here in perpetuity. But just to give you an overview of what our plan is, and as we go along, the last thing I'll say is we're going to have a better sense of the timing, what it's going to take, and then Rich and I could come up with, the budget for the remainder of the program, and then that 2,500 that he has allocated for burning that falls into 2022. Perhaps some of that might be seeding of that portion. It really is like an adaptive restoration kind of approach. So there's some flexibility that we have built in that, we'll be doing the dance along the way.
Okay. Well, we need to try to get the plan down and put, timeline and numbers. And I know it's everybody's best guess, but that's just how the show goes.
Right.
I have a quick question for Rich.
Yes.
Yeah, Mark.
Is that pond that Cara just referenced under Area 2? Was that built or was that created by a flooding event a few years after the airport was reestablished?
That was actually legacy. That's the old Quisling water area where they'd put their pump and irrigate the sod farm. And that was actually never part or very, that was a section that was kind of kept as is when the airport was designed or re-envisioned.
Okay.
And there's something, John, I'm glad that Kara mentioned this. When we did our tour, we discovered that some of the waterways, probably from our August flood a couple years back, but maybe just over all the years, have silted in. So one area that I neglected to bring up was we have to look at the potential expense of digging those areas out to restore them to their natural flow.
Right.
And yeah, I don't think it'll be horribly expensive if we can just, as long as we can convince the powers that be that we're just restoring it to as built, as opposed to changing anything, and that would require perhaps the DNR to do another study. So,
You know, I wonder if this doesn't come out of the stormwater budget to a certain degree. I mean, this is why we do it, right?
absolutely.
So it takes a bigger view. I think at some point in time, it's going to have to take a bigger view than it's just an airport problem. It's not. It's a bigger problem.
Mhm.
And this is the North Fork of the Pheasant Branch Creek.
Yeah.
We have I forget the word, Luke and Robert, you can help me, when we take sediment out of detention ponds, there's a term for it. I can't remember it now.
Dredging?
Do you
Dredging,
want?
thank you. Dredging. I knew it was a simple term. But we've done that at ponds around the city, and the city has ample experience with that. So that would be
Perfect.
a concept.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's continue to evolve the plan and the funding and everything else. Any of the other airport commissioners have any questions of Rich or Cara on this topic?
No, but I want to thank Cara and Rich for their work on this. I'm really excited that last year was so successful, and I'm glad that we're continuing on.
Thank you, Robert.
Thanks, Robert.
Anyone else have any comments? Okay. So
I would just say, good job. I think it's, you know, I know Penny Klein used the goats and the Pheasant Branch Conservancy, and I think this is excellent that we are using at the airport. Great job. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Mayor.
thank you, Mayor.
Mayor.
Okay, so with that, we are down to the end of topics for next period. So one of the things that we will definitely do is under finance, we will give you opportunity to view the final budget and ask questions. I will make every attempt to reconcile the 2022 apportionment and discretionary and all of the other funding from the BOA and the FAA. Of course, it's subject to change at any minute. Hopefully we will have the bid for the lights. That's a prerequisite to put together the funding for the year. We also would like to have on the agenda, I think, a discussion of the fuel and maybe how we want to think about recommendations to the board so they know what the airport's position is on the fuel, because that seems to be very much a community topic. And so we ought to make sure they're aware of everything and what our plans are with respect to the fuel. Maybe we set some trigger points. We could also put on the agenda the next year's events for Rock the Ramp. If they want to try to get a good start on it, I would not have a problem putting it on the agenda. And if somebody wants to make a motion to approve, so they can start the process, which is not that simple. So we have finance, we have, I guess we could do a brush update also. You do a brush management update, budget, fuel direction, and Rock the Ramp and events. So those are the four things that I see that we would put on there for September. Does anybody have any additional items they can think of right now that might want to go in? Okay, so let's work on those. and see if we can keep everything moving along. With that, would somebody like to make a motion to adjourn?
I will make that motion.
I
Okay,
second it.
okay, Luke made a motion to adjourn and the mayor seconded it. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Thank you, everyone, for a fabulous meeting. We shall soldier on.